Do you want to know how you can run Linux for absolutely free on your computer without needing to worry about transferring from USB stick and F12 and all the stuff you would need to do, and do it super simply without having to pay a dime? Well, there is a way you can do that, and today I'm going to show you guys how to do it for absolutely free in 10 minutes. So let's get started. Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Rachel Tech. My name is Rachel Dell, and today I'm going to show you guys how you can run Linux on Windows for absolutely free using a virtual machine, which basically eliminates a ton of the problems you would face if you did the USB method. So let's get into it. So before we start the video, I'm just going to say, first of all, you do need to have VirtualBox installed. You can get that right now for free at virtualbox.org. And you do need to have a Ubuntu ISO, and I'm going to show you how you can get that. So, to get your Ubuntu ISO, this is very surprising actually, because to get a Windows ISO, there are many out there, but keep in mind, Windows takes up 78% of the computer market today, which is a ton considering that Mac only takes up 12% of the computer market, and that's nothing when you think about it. But Linux takes up 1.98% of the computer market, and that's even less. But what's really surprising about that is that 54% of professional programmers only use Linux because they think it's so cool, and 83% of professional programmers say that even though they do use other operating systems besides Linux, they prefer Linux, and that's insane. So today, it's really simple to get an ISO image because Ubuntu themselves on their website, ubuntu.com, supply it for free, which is very strange considering that it's even illegal to do this with Apple. And not only is it illegal to do with Apple, they make it impossible to get an ISO image. You need to get an app from your actual Apple, convert that to a DMG, and then to an ISO, which takes forever and requires an actual Apple. So why are you making a virtual Apple if you own an Apple? It makes no sense. But Linux makes it really simple as long as you have VirtualBox set up. To get your ISO image, all you need to do is go to Ubuntu's official website, which is ubuntu.com. You now are going to want to download the desktop version. So normally what I would do is I would install Xubuntu because it's more compact and doesn't take up as much resources. But that's only when I'm doing the USB installation. But that takes forever and it's very hard to learn how to do. So let's go with this simple method of VirtualBox, and because we're not going to be using up so much resources, we can download the full version. So you would click on Ubuntu Desktop and download it. And yes, they do give you a free ISO. So I already have 2 of this installed to my computer, so I'm not going to bother installing it again. But you just click download and it starts downloading. It takes a little while to install. It is a operating system ISO, but yes, it is free from their own website, which is very surprising because they can charge you and easily make money. People would certainly buy it, but they do it for free, so that's very nice of them. Anyways, once it is installed, you are going to want to go ahead and open up VirtualBox. It should look something like this. So you're actually going to click New. And the cool thing about VirtualBox is that it can detect which operating system you're doing just by the name. So let's say you would type in something like Ubuntu. It immediately recognizes it's a Linux and even sets it to the right thing. So I'm not even going to bother. Now we're going to click Next. This is where you're going to allow it to have memory. Now keep in mind, your operating system does kind of need to have some specs. You do kind of need to know your computer a little bit to do this. Not anything crazy, you just need to kind of know a little bit about the specs of your computer. And you're going to allow it whatever you think is okay. I have a pretty fancy computer, but I'm not even going to bother giving it a lot of space. I'm just going to give it a little bit, I don't know, for memory. Now, most of you, this is going to be it. I'm not even going to show you how to do any of the other two options. We're just going to click the middle one and click create. And now you do want to use the top one because yes, we are creating a new machine. So we're just going to click next. And here's where it's really your opinion that counts. You either have fixed sized or dynamically located. And dynamically located is when every time it needs to take up space on your computer, it will take up space on your actual computer. And it doesn't have a set amount it's allowed to take. So if you put a ton of space on your virtual machine and just keep taking a ton of your physical computer, you don't really need to worry about that though if your computer is new. You don't really need to worry about it taking up a lot of space on your computer unless you're going to do something insane. If you are going to do something insane, you might want to go for fixed size because what that does is it gives the computer a certain amount of space it's allowed to take, and once it hits that amount, it will just tell you and it will shut down and it won't take up any more space. And that's annoying because it does kind of create a file on your computer which takes up actual physical space even when it's not on. It's kind of annoying, and I would just say go for dynamically located unless you're doing programming work, which is what most people who get Linux do with Linux. But I would just go for dynamically located. Here's where we basically give it megabytes. This is 10 gigabits. That's a little small. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give it 16. That's a bit small still, but let's do 16. Now we created a virtual machine, but before you click start, there's still a bunch of settings we need to tweak to make it work properly. Otherwise, it won't work properly. So to do that, you're going to go to settings. And over here, the first thing we're going to do is system. Here's, boot order, uncheck floppy. I don't even remember the last time we used floppy disks. So we're going to uncheck floppy, and we don't need it. No one's used floppy disks in years. We'll just leave it like that. And now we're going to go to display and video memory. Most computers, you can just jack it up to 128. Some computers, you might want to go for 64, which is a little less, a lot less. But on my computer, we have some great specs, so we can go for 128. Monitor count, you will notice it is all red. That is because I only have one monitor, but if you have more than one, you're welcome to jack that up. So don't play around with any of this, but you might want to enable 3D acceleration. That's optional, but yeah. Now for storage. Alright, this is a very, very important, and if you don't do this, there goes your virtual machine. You need to add storage. It needs to store things places. So you're going to click on this empty button. You're going to click on this disk picture and the top option. Now you're going to click add. And you're going to select the virtual, the ISO image you downloaded before. And now you're just going to click choose. And boom, now you have storage. Don't play with anything else. So for audio, yep, give it input and output. Unlike with a Mac, you won't need to worry about the drivers and stuff because there is an option that you could select later that will allow you to use your Windows speakers and microphones on your Linux. You don't need to worry about that. You do need to worry about that, though, on a Mac virtual machine. Mac virtual machines are not only illegal, but very hard to set up. So I really don't advocate for them. But this Linux virtual machine will basically use the same drivers as your Windows without any setup or anything. Just a click of a checkbox, and you will get the option to install third-party drivers. So that's cool. So don't worry about that. Network, you don't even need to play around with this stuff, although I would like to jack that up to USB 3. If you don't have any USB 3s, your computer's that old. Really isn't that old. But if you do have USB 3 ports on your computer, go for that. Alright, now we're just going to click OK and not even bother to scroll through anything else. Now we're going to click start, and if everything was done right, that means if you have an AMD processor, your virtual machine was set to AMD and not Intel, or stuff like that, little tiny stuff. Every little bit matters. If you forget that ISO image, it is not going to work. So make sure your ISO image is connected. You'll know it because it will say by storage that it's connected, but you need to make sure it is. Otherwise, this will completely fail. So now we're going to click start. And assuming we did everything right, you're going to get this window. And it's going to say VirtualBox. Well, mine says 6.1, but if you're watching this later, then it will say something else. And yes, it is a very small window. So if you like to enlarge that, you can go up here to view and full screen mode. And here we go. This is our Ubuntu. Very cool, very cool. And now it is going to boot up. So once it's booted up, then you are going to get this little loading screen. It might take a while, depending on how much RAM you gave it. It might take a little while. If you gave it 1 gigabit of RAM or like a really little amount, this could take a while. So keep that in mind. You do need to make sure you do give it something, because depending on how much you have in your computer, it really depends on how much you could put in the virtual, but I would recommend put as much as you possibly can without making your computer not be able to run. So, but that I mean, if you have 16 gigs, don't give it 8, give it 6, give it 4, something like that. So now we do have this Panther window, and we are loading up. And now here it's going to give you the option to try Ubuntu or install Ubuntu. Now we have an ISO disk, so we can click install Ubuntu. Do not click this. We want to install Ubuntu. So install Ubuntu to your ISO. Here's where you basically just select your keyboard layout and country and language. And this is where we have the option that I mentioned before, install third-party software. Yes, make sure that's checked off so that you can get the VirtualBox drivers installed that will allow you to have sound. Apple virtual machines don't let you do this, so you're going to have issues, but this specifically allows you to do that, so make sure you have that box checked. And over here, yes, we do want to let it install updates and stuff, and normal installation, not minimal installation. Continue. Really, whatever is right for a computer for normal versus minimal, but most of us will go for normal. So we'll let that. Okay, here we go. Now we have over here erase this and install Ubuntu, but because we just downloaded an ISO, the ISO is completely clear and free of anything. We don't need to worry. However, if you had a physical computer and you were doing this, you would want to check and make sure, But we just downloaded a clean ISO. There's nothing on it, so you can just select the top one and click install now. Click continue because, yes, once again, it's a clean ISO. Now you will type in your location. I'm not in New York, and I'm going to blur out my location, but and now it's going to ask you your name. So we are Rachel Tech, and of course it's going to have this Rachel Tech VirtualBox. You should rename that. Keep in mind though, you're not allowed to add spaces or underscores or dashes, so it's got to be in one word. So I would call it something like that, as long as it doesn't have apostrophes or anything like that. Okay. Yes, your username does need to start with a lowercase letter. I always found that weird, but yes, that's how Linux works. Your username needs to start with a lowercase letter, because if you type it without a lowercase letter and it's an uppercase letter, then you'll basically get this thing that says that you need to have a lowercase letter. So we're going to make it lowercase. And I use set any password, so And yes, for your password, you are allowed to add spaces and special characters. Now, you're going to click continue. So basically now Linux is going to install itself. This takes a little while, so make sure you give it time. It really depends how fast it can go, but no matter what, it takes a while, so let's sit around and wait. And wait. And wait. Okay, here we go. So now we need to restart the virtual machine. So click restart now. It's going to restart the entire virtual machine, and we want this to happen because now it's been installed, and we're just going to follow instructions. It says, please remove the installation medium, then press enter. It's a virtual installation medium, so just click enter. Please do not remove the ISO. That's a common mistake. People will remove the ISO and think that that's the installation medium. No. That is your storage. Do not remove the ISO. Thank you very much. Now Ubuntu will boot up, and you'll get this purple screen where you will click on it and sign in. You might also notice that your keyboard works perfectly, and so does your mouse. If you haven't noticed that already, you should have noticed that in the beginning. But if you haven't noticed that already, yes, VirtualBox does support anything plugged into your physical computer. So you can link your Google accounts and stuff. Skip this for now. No, please do not let them send system info. I mean, they can't tell the difference actually, in case you didn't know. Linux cannot tell that you're on a virtual machine. No website can tell you're on a virtual machine. They actually believe you're on a real computer, but I just prefer to not send it. But whatever you want. Some people think it helps the company, and it kind of does, but I don't know. I'm just going to click next. So it's a Linux. You might have this issue though where you'll open up Firefox. I wonder how many tabs I just opened. And you will basically go to youtube.com, and you'll have this software is preventing Firefox from safely connecting to this site. It's a big issue, and also if you wanted to install Chrome, let's say you'd go to you Google search Chrome, you can't do anything. You always get this message. So if you'd like to disable that, you need to uninstall software. But if you guys would like, leave a comment down below, and I will do a separate tutorial on how to do that. So now you've got a Linux, and you can thank me later. I will see you guys in another video. I'll see you real soon. Don't forget to check out our website. It is the top link in the description. Under the link, you'll get ubuntu.com and virtualbox.org. So just check out our website, and we've got a blog. We've got a lot of interesting stuff going on there right now. And now that you have a Linux, you might want to subscribe. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in a future video. Bye for now. And before you go, watch more videos, the end screen coming up. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.